Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing my comic load for the week. Now, this is the second week of the month, and the second week is usually a big week. It's tied with third as the biggest week quantity-wise. I get about 12 titles, depending. And in addition to that, this is going to be the first week that I'm going to try to incorporate other titles into my reviews other than just DC's. Uh, what some of you may or may not know, I read comics other than DC's. Usually I do just DC comic reviews. However, I'm going to incorporate some other titles. So if you see a Buffy or Red Sonja or Angel and Faith or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or G.I. Joe or some Marvel titles thrown into these comic reviews, it's going to happen. I'm going to try to incorporate those a bit more. In saying that, it's still going to be like 80% DC, but there's going to be some other stuff thrown in there. And this week we do have one comic. We have Buffy, so I will be talking about Buffy. And one more side note before we jump into this is that the way it looks when it comes down to work and my free time, and when I get to read my comics, because what you guys don't understand is because I work at a comic store, I get my comics a day early. So I get my comics on Tuesday, so I could get them done by, whatever time. So I figure at the earliest, maybe a Wednesday I can put my reviews up. Wednesday night. At the latest, probably Saturday. And always aim for it to be Saturday, but if I do it early, I do it early. So we have some Death of the Family stuff for Batman this week, and we have some issue number ones, Phantom Stranger, and a surprise issue number one. It's not Team 7. I'm not going to be continuing Team 7. It was an okay comic, but I don't have enough money or time. And then finally, we have some Third Army Green Lantern stuff with Green Lantern Corps. So we might as well start where we always start, with a little bit of Batman in our day. With Batman issue number 13, the start of the Death of the Family story. And if this glare is going to get on my nerves, yes, it probably is. So there we go. And as always, I get all the covers. So you got the traditional cover, which is creepy as all hell. You get this special cover right here, which what you'll see with Batman, and I guess what they're going to do with all the Batman titles, because you'll see it with Batgirl in the moment, is you get the title and you can flip this open, and the Joker face is covering the corresponding superheroes. So for Batgirl is Batgirl's face, for Batman is Batman's face. If you go on my Facebook down below, there's actually a picture that shows all the different faces that are going to be used, and I tagged a bunch of my friends and I in it, so tagged myself as Batman, of course. And then the digital copy, which, I'm sorry guys, I give this to my friend all the time. We make a little deal. He reads Batman. If I give him the digital copy, I'm not going to use it, so I might as well give it to my friend. So, Batman issue 13, The Return of the Joker. This is supposed to be a prelude more than anything, or a prologue more than anything. However, it feels like a part one. Basically, Joker's back in town, and he is, going to do exactly what Scott Snyder said he's going to do, is he's going to target people in the Batman family and hunt them down. And who's his first target? None other than Commissioner Gordon. So he attacks Commissioner Gordon, and he attacks Gotham PD, and he's also making threats that are similar to his threats that he made when he first came on the scene. What you have to understand is a lot of Batman's continuity, despite all the retcons and the reboots, relatively stay the same. They may change, they may update. Golden Age stories may turn into Silver Age stories, it may turn into Bronze, may turn into Modern, may turn into New 52. But they're always retold, and they're pretty much still there. So the Joker's first murder in Gotham is said in this, which I think is a nice nod to continuity. And basically, Batman is lured by the Red Hood, not Red Hood, the Red Hood, to the place where Joker was born. But is it really Joker? Is it someone else? Is it someone close to Batman? Just gonna have to read and see. And in addition to that, we live on a cliffhanger on who the Joker's next victim is going to be. Someone that is quite possibly closer to Batman than anyone else. On to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Things that stood out to me in this is, one, I like how the Joker made his reappearance. He kind of shows up in Gotham PD and the lights go out and everyone's like, oh shit, the Joker's back. And he slowly, methodically takes him down and he's just laughing the whole entire time, telling jokes. I also like how they throw the throwbacks to continuity with, the first case of the Joker, the people that he murders. The Joker has spoken. He used to say that back in the day in the Golden Age comics when he first appeared in like the 1939, I think. 1939 or 1940, one of the two. And how he used his arms, but the guy's body dressed up as him. I like Damien's reaction to the Joker, where he's just like, kidding me? It's a Joker. I've killed assassins and warlords, and I've gone up against like the best, and this is the Joker. Who cares? Batman says never underestimate the Joker. Which what I like about the Joker is that you can be freaking Lady Shiva. You can be Wonder Woman. You can be even Superman. The Joker is still a threat because he's so unpredictable. He has so many tricks up his sleeve. It's almost impossible to map him out. And that's one of the things that a lot of writers tend to get and some writers don't tend to get. Is the Joker has no rhyme. He has no reason. He has no methodology. He has no motives. They change like that with a whim. He's impossible to profile because he has no profile. He's the Joker. So I like Damien's reaction to this. And the cliffhanger at the end with who's the next one to be targeted in the Batman family was like, ooh, shit's going down. Bad, none. At this point with Batman, it's no surprise. It's a 5 out of 5 comic. It's really good. Scott Snyder's knocking out of the ballpark. And I think how they handled the Joker in New 52 was perfect. Take him away from us. Make us miss him for a year. 13 months we've been without the Joker. Or, well, 12 months. No, 13 months because the 0 issues count. Make us miss him. Then bring him back and bring him back with a bang. So, Batman, issue number 13, 5 out of 5. Batgirl, issue number 13, also considered a prologue to the death of the family, and I might as well show you the flip cover. So this is more of a wrap-up to the last Batgirl story arc before the 0 issue, and that was her dealing with Nightfall. And basically, she's just trying to survive. 2/3 of the comic is her surviving, her finding about this Nightfall and what's her methodology. And we find out Nightfall wanted to go to Arkham, wanted to go to prison, wanted to learn about the evils of the world. And there's a lot of character building in this, and Gail Simone does a fantastic job at doing that character building here. It ends off with the cliffhanger that's kind of a nod to the Killing Joke. Particularly, it's geared towards Barbara, but it's geared towards someone that Barbara holds dear, so that's the cliffhanger. Don't want to reveal too much. But the fight is mostly just her versus Nightfall in this. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. First and foremost, art-wise, Ed Benz is back on the title, though he was only on the title for the 0 issue. But Ed Benz and Gail Simone, it seems like they're a team. They always have to be together. I'm fine with that. As you guys know from my recent video, Ed Benz is one of my favorite artists. But you know what I particularly like about Ed Benz in this issue is the fact that the art of Ed Benz is handled well with the inker and with the colorist. A lot of people don't understand this, but inking and coloring play a big part in a artist. I saw once a rendition of the same picture done by an artist. It's the same picture, but it's done by 3 different anchors, and it looks completely different. An example of how inking can change a lot. You look at George Perez. His art in the 80s is the exact same thing as his art in let's say, 2006, Crisis on Infinite Earth, but it looks dramatically different because the inking's different. There's more lines, there's more detail, there's more shadowing, and George Perez doesn't work well with that. George Perez is more simplicity, looks better. But the reason why I'm building this up is that Ed Benz is kind of a colorful. He works well with colorfulness, but I really do like the subtleness and the darker tones and color and how the inking is represented on the characters. So the art was good in this. Nightfall is turning out to be, I think, the best new villain for Batgirl. This is, even though her lackeys are silly, this is a legitimate villain that I have enjoyed. It has great methodology, has great psychology, and she's a good foil for Batgirl. And a well-motivated character. Doesn't have a one note kind of motivation. She can do a lot of things. Bad, this really doesn't connect too much to the death of the family other than the very end. So it's kind of a cock tease. But other than that, it was a pretty good issue. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. The highlight being Nightfall herself. So, Batman and Robin issue 13. Now, this is not part of the Death of the Family story. And this will jump into Death of the Family at issue 15. So, 13 and 14 aren't going to be about zombies. And this is mostly about Damian dealing with zombies. Plain, flat, and simple. Nothing more to say other than that. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. There's a touching moment in this where Damien asks Bruce about his mother, and he said, Dad, did you ever love Mom? And Bruce takes a moment and he says, for one shining moment, yes, I was in love with her. And Damien thanks him. It was a touching moment, very subtle moment. You're not going to get Batman giving this ridiculous dialogue about, his love towards someone. He gave a very Batman answer, simplistic, straight to the point. Uh, and you also see where Damien's loyalties are. He's towards his father. His mother put a hit on him, like a $3 million hit. He doesn't give a shit about his mom. He feels betrayed. So there's some nice character moments in this. Bad. Zombies, not really a Batman and Robin thing. I mean, it worked out well. It's just not the first thing I would do. Besides that, this was a pretty good issue. 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it. Phantom Stranger issue number 1, which really should be issue 2 because Zero issue was issue 1. Let's be honest here. Phantom Stranger had a good Zero issue, and I said that after the Zero issue, although I'm not going to subscribe to the comic just yet, I'm going to at least take a taste of it here and there because it was fun. People get shit to Dan DiDio, but Dan DiDio actually did a good job on OMAC. He handled Outsiders with somewhat grace, and, he's doing a good job with Phantom Stranger. And the whole biblical aspect, I think, is tying in pretty well with this. And this is an important issue because 2 important DC characters show up. Trigon and Raven. Now I'll leave it at that. There's also 2 cliffhangers in this. One dealing with Raven and one dealing with the Phantom Stranger, which shows that there is a completely different side to the Phantom Stranger that I don't think ever been shown before. And this, I think, is actually a really good twist. Good, I think Trigon was handled very nicely in this. Raven has kind of a bit of a different tone, and I'll deal with that in a moment, but Trigon was handled very well. The twist with Phantom Stranger was handled very well. And I think Phantom Stranger, there's a good voice for him in this, in that he's an unwilling puppet, but a puppet's willing to do... he's an unwitting puppet, but he's going to do what he's going to do because he wants his freedom. And he thinks he believes in the greater good. He's kind of Machiavellian then, like, hey, I'll sacrifice this puppy here if it means I get to beat Darkseid. Yeah, it's terrible, slitting this doggy ear to ear, but hey, Darkseid's going down. Kind of like that mentality. Bad. I didn't really care for Raven in this. I can understand the new tone they're taking with Raven. Like, she was not really ever that big of a priestess. She doesn't have that much control over her power. May make it a little bit easy to integrate her into the new DC 52 or integrate her into regular world rather than Azeroth, wherever she's from. But I really didn't care for her. On a whole, 4 out of 5. It was a decent issue. Will I be picking up issue number 2? I almost said 3 because it's pretty much issue 3. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what the previews say. But if you like Phantom Strangers, it's actually a decent comic. Demonites, issue number 13. I'm going to make this quick and simple for you guys. The Demonites are in hell, and Etrigan is playing everyone. Even trying to play the devil himself. And that's the basic gist. Everyone is living their own hell and living what would be the perfect day of their life into a crappy day of their life. Well, kind of. In their own way. And Etrigan says he has a plan, but will his plan succeed? And in addition to that, a former villain returns right before Jason Blood does something very drastic. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. I think they handled everyone being their own personal hells. Here's a little bit of a spoiler. Like the horsewoman, how she becomes paralyzed and how she deals with it. She knows it's coming. She says, just get it over with. Vandal Savage, which I'm going to spoil it here, big time. Vandal Savage had the best moment in hell. He's tied upside down from a tree, and these kids are poking at him, sticking pokes in him. And they basically say, we're your children. We're damned here in hell until you sign this paper admitting and trying to admit forgiveness for all the atrocities that you've done. So they let Vandal Savage down. He takes it and he looks at it. And then he tears it up saying, children, I don't think you understand. My name's Vandal Savage. I don't regret anything I've done. You may proceed with the poking and torturing. Shining Knights, hell was pretty good. I think the only one that wasn't is... Ab Jabbar, I believe is his name, the rogue character, the one that kind of looks like Ezio or Altair with his hood. But you know, it had a pretty good issue. It was a really good issue actually. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this issue. A good setup, good middle, good ending. It delivered me. It presented well and it closed well. So that's what's important. So Demonites issue number 13. Pick it up. I do want to reiterate this. I do like how DC is handling Heaven and Hell, in that it's called Heaven and Hell, but that doesn't mean it's actually where your spirit goes. Hell is where the demons are born, like Trigon or the devil. Well, they're not the devil, but Etrigan. Only demons are allowed there. And Heaven is where the Celestials are born. You know, no one's soul goes to heaven in the DCU. It's just, it's like another dimension. Buffy, Season 9, issue number 14, starring Billy the Vampire Slayer. So we have Billy here, who is a young homosexual teenager who has to deal with the zombie pyres. And really, he's probably the only one taking this thing seriously. There's no Buffy in this, it's just Billy. And Billy's a pretty likable character. He's kind of a guy that you can, he grows on you. And basically, if you guys remember, because the seed is gone and because there's no connection to the hell dimensions, vampires, when they turn people, they turn into kind of zombies. And no one's taking this seriously at all. You know who does? Billy. And I give Billy credit, because at least he takes it seriously. At least he takes it seriously. Without going into much good or bad, the only thing I didn't like about this issue was how stereotypical it was. I'm for gay protagonists. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think there should be more gay protagonists. If you look at comics right now, just off the top of my head, Midnighter, Apollo, Bunker, and Alan Scott, they're all great gay protagonists. But the thing that I think hurts this comic a bit is it kind of goes to that safe story where he gets teased and pushed around in high school, which is something definitely people that have trouble coming out of the closet would have difficulty with in high school, but I think it's overdone a little in comics. I would have liked to see this Billy be a young adult dealing with his homosexuality, and he's comfortable with his homosexuality, and not being picked by the jocks, and not being picked around and being called discriminating remarks, because it's just cliche. It would have been better if Billy had a little bit more of an extreme story, something different. But I like Billy. I think he's a cool character, and I'm actually interested to see where Billy goes from here. On a whole, it will be a 3.5 out of 5. Decent issue. Enjoyable. Just curious on where it's going to go. Next, kind of a random thing, Anime Con Girls featuring Wonder Woman, issue number 1. Allow me to explain. Anime Con Girls are statues done of DC characters, mostly females, although they've done some female interpretation of male characters, done in an anime art style. The characters are literally done in an anime art style. And they go from Duelia Dent to Cheetah to Batgirl to Supergirl to Power Girl to Wonder Woman. They even do male characters like Brainiac and make them female. Yeah. It's one of those things. I don't really care for the product itself, but they do have a comic that kind of ties into it, which I guess is set on a DC universe, not in the New 52. And the first one features Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's my girl, might as well read it. Let me say, yes, it is a bit over the top. The story deals with kind of the origin of Wonder Woman in the Anime Con Girls universe. In saying that, it actually does a pretty good job at telling a very traditional Wonder Woman story, but telling it a bit differently. I mean, we have Jimmy Poliat and Justin Gray on this, and we actually have Amanda Connors as the artist for the first 20 pages. And it's actually a pretty stellar team. The story was handled well. Wonder Woman's a bit of a brat in this, but I allow it because it's like an Elseworld story. It's actually a pretty decent story. I will give this also a 3.5 out of 5. Enjoyable. Next, I guess I'll switch these up and I'll do Superboy first. Superboy, issue number 13. Yeah, Superboy issue number 13. Nah, just kidding. Basically, Superboy issue number 13 is him just, you're finding out Superboy has anger issues. Big anger issues. And he can't control his powers because of his anger issues. In addition to that, him stealing is starting to catch up with him. And Lord, or I believe that's her name, the cop that Superboy works with, isn't too happy with Superboy. But Superboy really just wants to make a deal so he can find Caitlin Fairchild and get the answers that he wants. And that's basically it. It leads off on it leads into the new Hell on Earth story arc dealing with Superman, Superboy, and Supergirl. But yeah, that's about it. Uh, Here's the thing about Superboy, and I'm not going to even bother with good and bad and whether or not you should get it. I like Superboy. He's a cool character. He's a cool cat. The problem is this: is his comics not necessary. He's portrayed better and handled better in Ravengers and in Teen Titans than he is in Superboy. It's an okay title, but it doesn't do anything to wow me. And saying that, I will give this a 2.5 out of 5. It's okay, but again, Superboy's comic is not necessary, and I'm not enjoying it as much as I should. The Ravengers, issue number 5. So Superboy joins up with the Ravengers to get answers from Caitlin Fairchild. However, they have to ask their questions with their fists, of course. Let's be honest here. Superboy has a temper and Caitlin Fairchild has a stick up her ass. So they're going to fight each other. Which leads to one of the Ravagers in big time danger and them kind of having to come together for even a bigger threat. What that threat could be, you don't know. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. I love how this team dynamic works. I like how these people interact. I like how they talk. I like how they just shoot the shit. Two is I think Superman's actually a pretty good dynamic with this team. I think he fits in there. Not only should he be on the Titans, but he fits well with the Ravengers team because, well, he had to deal with the whole culling thing. He was a product of nowhere. So I think he works well with this team. Next is this very subtleties, but you definitely see there's a relationship between Terra and Beast Boy, and it's handled very well. I'm sorry, something's up with my foot, but it's handled very well. Just from her leaning onto his shoulder or how they interact with each other. It's nice to see that relationship going. Bad, nothing really. It's kind of a transition issue, but it was okay. I'll give this a 4.3 out of 5. I enjoyed it a lot, and Ravagers is a fun comic. I think I'm actually liking it more than I'm liking Teen Titans right now. It's just funny because I thought Ravagers was the stupidest comic to come out with the second wave at first, but now it's turning out to be one of the best ones. Next, our good buddy Deathstroke, issue number 13. Rob Liefeld's run is coming to an end, which is interesting because this was actually a decent issue. Basically, Deathstroke has to go up against Deadborn, whatever. And in this, we get to see Deathstroke kind of monologue to us about how, he's getting old, but he likes the thrill of the hunt, and, he's bored when he's just stationary, and he likes fighting, and this guy is actually pretty good. He's enjoying the sparring match. He's considering a sparring match, even though Deathblow is trying to kill him. And it all kind of ends with a little bit of I don't know if I would call it a shocker, but a realization for Deathstroke about his opponent. In addition to that, we get to see a little bit more Jericho, and I kind of like how Jericho is an antagonist. Okay, let me explain. Jericho, before the New 52, was a member of the New Teen Titans, and I liked him as a good guy there. The problem is Jericho's character has been tainted in kind of screwed up sense. He's gone evil, he's gone good, he's been possessed, he's not possessed, he's possessing other people, it's making him go crazy. His character's just been a freaking mess. So at this point, I really just don't care. I mean, I wasn't the biggest Jericho fan, and I kind of like the fact that Jericho is a bad guy for Deathstroke. It's actually a good twist on things. I'm not a big Rob Liefeld fan at all. But I think he's kind of a dick now after the Twitter war that I saw with him. But the story isn't actually that bad. The art is good too. We actually get an artist on here that's not Rob Liefeld, so we get to see feet. We actually get to see real feet. Um, 3.5 out of 5. Grifter, issue number 13. So Grifter goes on to Stormwatch, and he basically wants to get secrets from Stormwatch. That's basically the gist. It is Grifter versus Midnighter versus Apollo. Who will win? You think Apollo or Midnighter? Let me talk to you about why Grifter's issue was okay, but so illogical. Grifter was actually portrayed nicely in this. I think, again, Rob Liefeld comic. I think Rob Liefeld has a decent voice for Grifter, because Grifter is kind of a 90s character, but he has a decent voice for Grifter. Here's a problem with this issue. There's two problems. One is he's in hyperspace, and he has a little breathing apparatus, but the rest of his skin is exposed. Unless hyperspace rules work differently than regular space when exposed to the harsh elements of it, I think it'd be a little bit harsher in hyperspace. I mean, he should be freezing up or blowing up by sheer vacuum of it, but whatever. This is my problem, is that not only is Grifter able to beat Apollo, which I can kind of allow because he had the slip-on of Apollo, I still think Apollo should have won, is the fact that in a straight-up, hand-to-hand combat match, he's able to beat Midnighter. No. 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 I don't care how much demonizing powered TK super psychic fields he has. First of all, he shouldn't be able to beat Apollo. Rob Liefeld kind of made it a little believable, but he still shouldn't. Two is, in a straight-up fist fight against Midnighter, there's very few people who should be able to beat him. Lady Shiva, Batman, maybe even Nightwing could hold his own. But this is freaking Apollo. Not Apollo. It's freaking Midnighter. This guy here is like the Ozymandias of the DC 52. No way. 2.5 out of 5. Because it was some good, but nothing really. Suicide Squad, issue number 13. So we pick up where we left off with the traitor of Suicide Squad, which I'm still not going to reveal who it is if you haven't read yet, confronting Amanda Waller and basically threatening the hell out of her, and the Suicide Squad taking on Regulus, and I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Regulus, Regulus, yeah, and taking on Regulus, and the Suicide Squad kind of having to come together, and that's the basic gist of it. Suicide Squad versus Regulus, Amanda Waller versus Traitor. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good. I do like how all the characters are portrayed in this. From Harley Quinn to Deadshot to Amanda Waller, who I think was portrayed beautifully in this. I think they were all portrayed pretty well. I particularly like Amanda Waller's portions a little bit more than I liked the other ones, but I still liked the Suicide Squad stuff. Especially what Deadshot does to that Captain Cold ripoff. It's so bad. Bad is that I think the resolve with the Regulus, I'm just going to open this up to double check because I was reading this when I was studying for my tests in work. Because in work we had to take tests. Two of them. I got a 96 on the first one and a 101 on another one. So I did pretty good. Regulus is kind of taken down and a little too easy. Regulus came off as kind of an intimidating badass, but he got taken down. And I won't say what member does it, but it puts that member in a pretty predicament. But yeah, Suicide Squad has been a solid series, and I am going to give that a 4 out of 5. Don't want to talk about it too much. So, on to the last comic of the day. We're going into 30 minutes. It's now 29 minutes and 14 seconds. 15 seconds, 16 seconds, 17 seconds. Green Lantern Corps, issue number 13, Rise of the Third Army. Which, I guess what they're doing with this is the Green Lantern, with War of the Green Lantern, it was across all the Green Lantern titles. With Rise of the Third Army, I don't think you're going to have to get anything other than Green Lantern, but it does help to get this stuff. Basically, Guy Gardner is promoted to Green Lantern Sentry, I believe is the actual term that is used. Allow me to double check. But Guy Gardner is promoted by the, although we didn't know, crazy Guardians of the Universe. In addition to that, the alien Guy Gardner took out his first day as a Green Lantern has been broken out. By whom? I wonder who. Lantern Sentinel. Sorry, did I say Century? Yeah. He's a Sentinel, which I guess is basically the equivalent of an elite guard or a captain. Um, and he's given his own platoon. He actually has a higher rank than Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and possibly Kyle Rayner. Kyle Rayner is considered the torchbearer, even though he doesn't have ion in him. I think he still has a little bit of prestige to him. But yeah, Guy Gardner is promoted, and basically he has to transport some delegates. But because that alien is free, he believes that he's going to go after his family. So Guy Gardner said to him, fuck you guys, I'm going to go and deal with this dude. Disobeying orders, which the Guardians are just so surprised at. The Guardians are faking it. But even then, if I was a Guardian and I was faking it and like, hey, you, Guy Gardner, don't do that. That's disobeying orders. I wouldn't be like, Guy Gardner, this is such a shock. If I'm trying to fake it, I'd be like, oh, Guy Gardner, seriously, we just promoted you. Can you like be good for like 2 minutes? And of course, the Third Army shows up and ambushes Guy, and a Green Lantern is lost to us. Which Green Lantern that is? Just gonna have to read and see. Good, bad, whether or not you should get it. Good, I think it had a good transition and pacing into the actual Third Army, in the sense that the comic flowed pretty well. There was a basic story at the beginning, and this is another good. You don't need to read any Green Lantern Corps. This is a jump on point. You can jump on right here. You don't have to read any Green Lantern Corps beforehand to understand what's going on. Anything that may have been vague is explained to you. But the pacing is held, actually done pretty well. We may not get a lot of the Third Army, but they were introduced well in this. I like Guy Gardner in this. I like how he takes his role seriously. And I also like John Stewart's, I use a double J there, John Stewart's enthusiasm with the mission he's given. Bad, the Guardians are, we all know the Guardians are evil with this storyline. I think how they are faking being good is a little ungenuine. Again, the Guardians are faking, the acting surprised with Guy Gardner doing what he's doing. I don't care if you're pretending to be a good guy. Guy Gardner's a dick. He disobeys orders all the time. He's Han Solo, basically, when it comes down to that. Why are you surprised? Again, if I was there and Guy Gardner's disobeying orders, that's a shot. You could make a drinking game out of it. How many times does Guy Gardner get into a fight with Hal Jordan, disobey orders, hates Batman, or moons someone? That's basically the gist. I would love to see someone make a drinking game on that and just read like 13 issues of a comic and see what happens. On the whole, this was a pretty decent issue. 4 out of 5. I did enjoy it. So, took us about a half hour. 33 minutes, but that is my comic load for the week. All of them pretty good. No real bad stuff, just some unimpressive stuff. But yeah, gonna end, just on a side note, some Marvel Now stuff did come out this week, but it's not what I'm getting. I'm gonna get the following titles: Fantastic Four, Thor, Captain America. In addition to that, I found out FF has She-Hulk on it, and I'm a big She-Hulk fan, so I will pick that up. And I might pick up Savage Wolverine when it comes out in January. Who knows? But yes, with that said, I'm going to end this review here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.